Greetings and welcome back to yet another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Lilith. And that's not really that important. What is important, however, is that Afterbirth Plus, the next DLC for the Binding of Isaac, just got announced yesterday, and it's coming out on the 3rd of January. And if that isn't good news for 2016, because it was kind of a shitty year, then I don't know what is, especially for the fans of the series. It's kinda almost an emotional event, just because a lot of us have been with this game for a very long time since the Flash version, and to see it grow up, get reworked, go through the notions, the RG, just all of those things that kinda encompass the Isaac community, especially the dailies, I think have a very tight community with them. There's a lot of people who know each other that compete for the same dailies, and there's a lot of strategy involved, and I just think that just overall Isaac is that type of game that kinda attracts people of the same caliber together, with who share at least one thing in life, and that's their love for games. And the fact that we are getting an ending in a semi-sad note is upsetting, but at the same time it's also a nice send-off, because anything that's good has to end at some point. And I think all of us know the feeling whenever you watch a show or just a movie and you see it get pulverized into the ground, and at some point it might be cool, it might be even very good, but when they're making the 13th season and you're asking what is even the point anymore, that's when you know that the series is kind of staling and there's really nothing much to be done here. And the fact that we get this send-off and that they give us the tools, and that they will give us the tools to kind of create our own content, our own mods, gives me a lot of hope that this game will actually live on in our minds as a masterpiece, as a game that really inspired us to do something new. And, you know, inspiring doesn't just mean make videos or make mods or whatever. I think inspiring just means that we realize that we share a certain passion for the genre, and not just this game in general, just gaming in general, because it's a medium that I feel thankfully has gotten a lot more exposure, especially since in the last 10 years, just because gaming has become so popular. But at the same time, it's still one of those things that is kind of not shunned upon, I would say, but it does have some negative aspects to it. And the fact that a lot of people are seeing that games can be both works of art and at the same time they can be a way for people to express themselves, I think is a very important notion that should be kind of reinforced in the modern world, just because there's really, what's the difference between watching a show and just playing a game if they both have the same emotional impact on you at the end of the day. And of course, some of the times you just play them for fun, but of course, I think when you invest multiple tens of hours in a single game, that's not just fun anymore, that's probably almost going into passion. And the passion, of course, there is not just for playing and just getting good, but also the passion for learning about a game, trying to figure out how it works, and just all these things that encompass playing a game, basically. And I think, like I said, the fact that we will have our own tools to kind of explore that aspect of this game, that we will be able to share our creations, is a great thing for all of us and as a community as a whole. And I think this game will go on strong for a really long time, just because of the implications it has, the fact that we can kind of do these things ourselves now. And of course, I hope I'm not wrong in that sentence, and that but at the same time, you know, the nature in this sense, the internet has its own way of things and its own thoughts, so we'll see what happens. But at the same time, now we're just hyped for the 3rd of January, so hopefully Afterbirth Plus comes out, it gives us some awesome items, some awesome new dailies, and of course more content that we can enjoy on a daily basis. With that said, let's go back to our daily run. So we were playing as Lilith, which is one of my characters that has been becoming increasingly better for me. And I don't mean better as in I like her more, although that also happened. But as in, I've been getting actually really consistently good scores with her. Not something super absurd, but on average I think she's one of my better characters. And I can't really pinpoint the reason why, because I don't feel like she has anything going for me, besides the fact that she has trouble shooting and aiming properly, which I think is something that everyone struggles with. She has very low speed, and personally, having low speed really throws me off, because I feel like I'm very adjusted or used to certain patterns, and the fact I know how far I can go to dodge them. The fact whenever my speed is lower than that minimum threshold of me knowing how I can dodge certain attacks really throws me off, and what happens is I end up running into enemies instead of running away from them, which is kind of awkward in the sense that it makes a lot of characters really unenjoyable to play just because of that. But at the same time, it does require me to adjust my play in a sense, and hopefully in that sense try to get better out of it. But at the same time, it's really I think quite inhibiting. And the fact that I'm a slow player as well, having low speed means I will explore slower on average and there will be more consequences. But for some reason, Lilith is one of those characters that goes well with me, and I think this score on this daily shows that. We were kind of forced to get rid of the box of friends because it just didn't have a lot of implications for us, and even more importantly, we got the blank card and the room bag, and of course having the blank card and the room bag is just a matter of time before you're gonna get a Yara run and before you can do something like this. So our run was very weak up until this point, but just because you have that holy grail of combos of the Yara and the blank run, which means you can just duplicate chests which contain items in them, and thankfully this room both had the batteries, the consumables, and the chest that actually had an item in it. I could do that just a bunch of times and get some really nice items out of it. And I finished my Guppy transformation here, which means I get Flight, I get Tech X, which is just an excellent item, and at this point you don't really know, you don't have to worry about anything else because we're strong enough to kind of go through this daily without any worries. You see that we are here at the 23rd minute, and this is the 5th floor, so there's no chance of us actually catching boss rush because we kind of missed that train, but there's still a good chance for us to actually catch Hush. You might be wondering, there's only like 5 minutes left in order for you to catch Hush, and you still have 3 whole floors remaining, which means 3 whole bosses as well. How the hell do you imagine that? And not only do we catch him, but we also get the full exploration bonus. I think maybe I miss 1 or 2 rooms, but in general I just go through them. And that's just the power of getting a lot of damage ups, that Kex and Guppy, in this case, which just allows us to produce a bunch of flies that deal a bunch of damage, which also coincides with the Tech X, and because we have quite naturally high tier rate, and the fact, of course, we got just a bunch of items, means we can do a lot of great things here. You can see I'm still exploring here, even though there's only 3 minutes left, but we did finish the previous floor in, I think, about 1 minute, and we even finished this one in about 1.5 minutes, with actually going back and exploring, so you can just get a sense of how strong we are. And usually I find whenever I have this game-breaking combo of having blank card and Yara rune, and you know that it's a bad run up until that point, it's usually worth it to skip boss rush in order to get a really strong combo going so that you duplicate a lot of chests and so that you get a lot of items, because that way you know that you're going to be super powerful, and because of that you're not going to take a lot of damage, which means your damage penalty will be low, and at the same time you can still catch Hush and get the majority of the points. Sure, the people who did catch boss rush will have an advantage over you, but the amount of people who catch boss rush is kinda on the low side, I would say, just because it does require a lot of finagling, because they still have to find a way to break the game, and you have to do it at a certain point. So if you do it before boss rush and are still strong enough to catch boss rush, or if you're not late enough, obviously that's the optimal case scenario. But in my case, what happened is I tried to break the game early, so I kind of spent a lot more times on the earlier floors, which then turned that I was too slow to actually catch boss rush, but at the 25th minute mark or something like that, I did manage to get to the 5th floor, which did have that combo I was looking for. So maybe if I knew, or maybe if I risked a bit more, I could have kind of sped through the game and would be at the 5th floor in maybe like the 16th minute, and then I would break the game, and then I would obviously catch boss rush and Hush and everything in between. I would just get a bunch of score. So it's more like a risk versus reward scenario that you kind of have to consider with yourself. So will you rush off to try to get boss rush, or will you just take it easy and kind of have more chances to get a breaking run, and then of course do Hush and all the other rooms as well? And I just went for the second option because not only I think is it much easier to do, but it's also much more enjoyable to play and watch, I think, because the things just go by faster. And the fact that we can finish this in about 20 seconds per floor, just because this is sped up 5 times, means I think it's a much it's a better pace, sets a better pace for the video, because I have more to talk about and then I don't repeat myself as often. With that said, of course, with having the blank card plus Sierra does allow us to do the greatest thing here, and which is just duplicating a lot of consumables to get a bunch of points. And we have 99 of every consumable except bombs, but we'll pick that up on the way. But besides that, it was kind of tricky because this was the curse of the maze, which means that sometimes I would get teleported to a different room, and sometimes the rooms would switch. So sometimes I would have pennies and sometimes I would have keys, which is a bit, I guess, unfortunate, but at the same time it didn't really make too big of a difference, just because having this game-crazy combo, game-breaking combo, which allows us to get infinite consumables, things can't really go wrong when you're this strong. That's how I would put it most elegantly, I think. So I actually discussed or wanted to talk about if Afterbirth Plus will bring any changes to the daily runs. And besides the obvious, the fact that we're gonna get new items, and some of the items actually seem like good candidates for breaking runs. So I don't know how many of you have actually do follow the dev blogs and the dev posts, but there's an item which will allow you to change characters. So every time you use your spacebar item, you will change your character. And obviously that's very useful if you're playing a weak character like Judith, no, not Judith, but Lost, or maybe the Keeper, or maybe even Maggie. And you can kind of re-roll yourself a few times to hopefully get a better character out of it. But I'm just wondering what the implications of that are, because while it doesn't seem that strong on paper, I would say, and actually when you think about it, it's not really that strong in total, but how will that affect maybe the seeding of the game? So do things change when you're playing as different characters? I know that there's actually a different, or maybe there was a different way that the rooms spawned on the same seed based on how much health you have, which means that things could end up being or acting very differently based on which character you're playing, just because of your natural limitations of your HP. So if you're playing as the Lost, you might get a different floor than someone who's playing as a different character. And like I said, I'm not sure if those things will be worked out or if that's even how it works, but I'm saying that there may be a possibility of that happening. So I think that would add an unnecessary random element to the game, which I don't think I would really enjoy. I don't think anyone would really enjoy that. But, you know, we'll wait and see. I hope that some of the things get changed. Obviously, there's a lot of great community suggestions. I hope that some of them will get implemented in the daily runs to hopefully give us a better experience. But of course, if they're not, we still all enjoy a challenge, I think. And we'll try to get through it the best we can and just compete within the boundaries of the challenges set to ourselves. So, yeah, we did finish 27th, obviously. We did get a very good combo, we did get very strong. Even though the run was very slow up until the 5th floor, we kind of rushed through the rest of the game just because we did get just a bunch of items which helped us. And obviously getting Tech X with Guppy means that you're gonna have a good time on any daily run. I'm sad we didn't break the 50,000 mark, and that just because of some bad hits I got damaged along the way. But in total, I would say this was a good run. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope we enjoyed the little talk we had about Afterbirth Plus. Obviously, I'm very excited about it. And if you are as well, please let me know. I think there's a lot of ideas and suggestions that people have about this game, and you need to get them out, because there are people who are listening and will make the suggestions you implement, and hopefully you will see those differences in games as well. With that said, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.